Hey everyone, and welcome to Journal Club Papers Simplified. So, we all think we know how old we are, right? But what if I told you your birthday might be, well, lying to you? What if deep inside your body, your organs, your heart, your brain, your lungs all have their own age? Like they're all ticking away on their own separate clocks at completely different speeds. Well, today we're diving into some absolutely groundbreaking science that can actually read those clocks. I mean, think about it. You've got your chronological age, right? That's just the number of candles on your cake. But is that really the whole story? Does your heart really march to the exact same beat as your brain or your lungs? Well, it turns out the answer is a big, fat no. And here's the crazy part. For the very first time, we can actually measure this. This isn't just a cool idea anymore. Brand new research shows that our organs, they just don't age together. Some might be running way ahead, aging super fast, while others are just kind of ticking along slowly. And the most amazing thing? Scientists can now figure out the separate biological ages of 11 of your organs, all from a single drop of blood. It's wild. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to be breaking down a landmark study from an incredible team at Stanford University. This was published in the top-tier journal, Nature Medicine. And just to be clear, this isn't science fiction. This is literally what the leading edge of medical research looks like right now. So that brings up a good question. Why did scientists even start looking for these hidden clocks in the first place? I mean, what was the big problem they were actually trying to solve? Well, the huge problem in longevity research has always been measurement. We can try all sorts of things, different diets, new exercises, even fancy medicines to try and slow down aging. But how do we really know if any of it is working? Just looking at someone's birthday, it's just not good enough. We needed a much more precise tool, something that could actually look under the hood and see how all our individual parts are holding up. Okay, and this brings us to what I think is the most brilliant part of this entire study. I mean, seriously, how on earth can you tell the age of someone's brain just by looking at their blood? It sounds impossible, right? Here's a fantastic way to picture it. Think of your bloodstream as this massive river flowing through your entire body, okay? And every single one of your organs, your heart, your liver, your brain, is constantly releasing these tiny little messages in the form of proteins right into that river. Now, for the longest time, we knew those messages were in there, but it was all just noise. We couldn't make sense of it. But now, this team at Stanford has basically built a universal decoder. They can read the mail. So here's how they pulled it off, broken down into 3 steps. First, they just listened. They took blood samples from over 44,000 people. That's a huge number, and identified thousands of different proteins. Step 2, they built the decoder. They fed all of this massive amount of data to an AI and basically taught it to recognize the unique protein signature that each organ gives off as it gets older. So the AI learned, for example, to tell the difference between the protein pattern of a 25-year-old kidney and a 65-year-old kidney. And finally, once that decoder was up and running, they could actually calculate a score for every single person. And they gave this score a name, the age gap. Now, this is the really crucial part to understand. The age gap is simply the difference between your organ's biological age, the age the AI predicts based on proteins, and your actual age in years. So let's say you're 50 years old, but your heart has the protein signature of a 60-year-old. That means you have a plus 10-year age gap for your heart. It's basically a report card for each of your organs. Okay, so they've built this absolutely incredible tool. The obvious next question is, what happens when you start reading these report cards for tens of thousands of people? What do they actually find out? And this, my friends, is where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just some cool party trick. This new technology gave them a stunningly clear window into our future health. So what did these report cards actually predict? Let's start with the brain, the big one. What this study found was that people whose brains had an aged protein signature, so their brain was biologically older than their actual age, those people had a staggering 3.1 times higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease down the road. 3.1 times, that is huge. Now, to really put that number into perspective, let's compare it to something we're already familiar with in medicine. The strongest genetic risk factor we know of for Alzheimer's is a gene called APOE4. And get this new blood test, just by looking at proteins, identified a risk level that was right up there with carrying that gene. I mean, that is a massive, massive breakthrough. It gives us a completely new, non-genetic way to understand who might be at risk. And it wasn't just about one organ at a time. The researchers found that the total number of aged organs a person had was an incredibly powerful predictor of their risk of dying from any cause over the next 15 years. The effect was cumulative, and as you're about to see, it was unbelievably dramatic. Just look at how the risk stacks up here. Having just 2 to 4 aged organs more than doubled your mortality risk. Get up to 5 to 7, and it quadrupled it. And for people with 8 or more aged organs, they saw that massive 8.3 times increase in risk. It's just such a powerful visual of how this whole body, systemic aging, really impacts our chances of survival. By the way, if you're getting a lot out of this deep dive into cutting-edge science, it would be awesome if you take a quick second to subscribe. We simplify incredible studies just like this one every single week. Okay, I know. This might all be starting to sound a little bit scary, a little bit predetermined. But the next part of the study is actually really empowering. The big question is, can we do anything about these clocks? Do we have any control? Well, the researchers looked at lifestyle factors, and yeah, they found some really clear connections. A lot of the things we're always told are bad for us, smoking, heavy drinking, lots of processed meats, they were, in fact, linked to faster organ aging. But on the flip side, things like getting vigorous exercise, eating oily fish, and, get this, even higher education were all associated with more youthful organ profiles. It really suggests that our choices might have a real measurable impact on these hidden clocks.
Okay, but we have to be really honest and clear here. This is important. This study shows associations. It doesn't prove cause and effect. So it doesn't prove that if you stop smoking today, you'll actually reverse the age of your lungs, for example. We just don't know that yet. The key takeaway for now is that this is an absolutely incredible research tool, but it's not a clinical test you can go ask your doctor for, at least not yet. All right, this brings us to the final and maybe the most profound question the researchers looked at. If all these different organs are aging at different rates, do they all matter equally when it comes to how long we live? Let me put it another way. If you could only pick a couple of your organs to keep biologically young to guarantee a long life, which ones would you pick? Your heart? Your liver? Well, the answer that came out of all this data was surprisingly specific. And surprisingly, it wasn't the heart, it wasn't the liver, or the kidneys either. The two things that stood out, completely independent of everything else, were a youthful brain and a youthful immune system. People who had just one of those things going for them had a significantly lower risk of death. And the lucky few who had both a young brain and a young immune system, they had the absolute lowest risk of anyone. Think about what that means. This is like a giant signpost for the future of medicine. It's telling scientists, hey, over here, if you want to develop treatments that truly extend how long people live healthy lives, the brain and the immune system, that's where you should be focusing your attention. Those are the primary targets. So, to wrap this all up, what this study has really given us is a completely new way to look at aging. It's not just one single mysterious number anymore. Now, we can see this detailed report card for the human body, one that tells us not just that we're aging, but how we're aging, organ by organ by organ. And really, that just leaves us with one final question for you. As this technology gets better and more common, you might actually get the chance to see your own organ report card someday. You could know for sure which of your internal clocks are running fast. So the question is, would you want to look? Thanks so much for joining me for this breakdown. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next one. I'll see you then.